a collaboration between Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital Plymouth, the Plymouth Public Schools, leadership of the town of Plymouth, and local organizations. Healthy Plymouth has a unified goal: to enrich the quality of our lives through better health. Julie Thompson spoke to Malissa Kenney and Jackie Millar.
I'm so pleased to welcome today both Malissa Kenney and Jackie Millar of the Healthy Plymouth, used to be initiative and now it's a 501c3. So let's talk about that. Melissa, can you talk a little bit about how you got to where you are right now with Healthy Plymouth?
Sure. I'm the president and CEO of Healthy Plymouth, and I joined the organization in 2017. I came to the organization at the request of the then chair, Judy Vigna, because of work I was doing with youth at Algonquin Heights. And, just briefly, my background is in the disability field. I've been in human services and nonprofit management for a little over 30 years.
Okay, excellent. And Jackie, how did you get involved?
So again, Judy Vigna was my contact as well, but I got a permaculture design certification in 2015. I had been a real estate lawyer for 30 years in Boston, and I wanted to teach. So between the permaculture design certification and growing up in North Adams with 2 apple trees in my backyard, it all seemed to come together. So the school and community garden initiative is something really close to my heart, and teaching kids about where their food comes from and being outside in the garden has been a passion of mine. So here we are today.
Okay, so let's just go back a tiny bit for 1 second. So Healthy Plymouth actually is a collaboration between Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital of Plymouth, Plymouth Public Schools, the town of Plymouth, leadership, and local organizations. So you all get together, and basically your single goal is to enrich the quality of lives through better health, correct?
Through better health and through better social emotional health too for the youth.
Perfect.
And providing them with activities of engagement that can hone interest and help them think about their future.
Okay, and over the past 5 years, you've done a lot of different initiatives, but the one we really want to talk about today is the Edible School and Community Gardens Permaculture Clubs. And what does that mean? That's a mouthful. So to the people that don't know what that is, who would like to explain what it is and how people get involved with it?
Sure. So over the past 5 years, we've installed 13 school and community gardens in Plymouth. So those are really the places that people can gather, do some community gardening, or for the schools, we have clubs either before school, after school, during school, whatever suits that school. So those clubs really focus on kids being out in the garden, reflecting on nature, finding out where their food comes from, because a lot of kids unfortunately don't know that. So it gives them kind of a place that's a level playing field for all the kids. And I think that's a really wonderful place for kids to be and to build some confidence and feel comfortable being outside in nature and bringing some of those skills home to their parents. And in the summer, we have Sign Up Genius available for the families to take a week in the garden so they can maintain the garden and harvest the garden and help the garden stay happy and healthy all summer long.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, do you do nutrition as well as plant? I mean, is that part of this whole program? Is kind of an education about nutrition?
So one of the partners that we've had over the past 5 years is Carol Guerin at UMass Extension. She goes into the classroom and talks about nutrition through her program, and then goes out to the garden as well and highlights that. We also have Marsha Richards, who's been a partner at Beth Israel Deaconess. She's a nutritionist as well, and she's great. And we have her lots of times come down to the community garden at Algonquin Heights for any of the school programming we did. When we had the 1 week April vacation program, she was there. We made lunch with the kids, and we really focused on local foods when we had her come down. So we tracked the food miles it took for the produce to be grown and to be used. And I think that's a really important lesson as well. So kids understand what local food means and what the impact on the environment is if you're getting food flown in from Hawaii, if you're going to eat a pineapple. So those are the types of things that we talk about with the kids to get them thinking about local types of issues on a global scale.
And most kids, you'd never think that. I mean, you'd never think, how long did this particular thing that I'm going to eat, how long did it take to get here? Now, what about the fact that in the winter, clearly you can't have outside gardens? What does this program look like in the winter months?
So again, we can certainly go into the classrooms. I just started a program at Rising Tide. That's our latest garden. And so we grew some sprouts on the windowsill. And that's food footsteps instead of food miles, right? So teaching kids that you grow some of your own food in different ways, hydroponically on the windowsill. Those again are some lessons that they take home with them and understand, hey mom, I don't think we're going to buy this tomato from Florida. Maybe we should find a hydroponic one that's grown fairly locally. So those types of things you can certainly do in the winter as well, just to have the kids have an idea, again, where their food comes from.
And do you bring into this at all the incredible cost of shipping food versus,
oh yeah,
I mean, because everyone will say now, and I'm sure the kids have heard their parents say how much the prices have gone up, especially for produce and things like that in the grocery stores. So that's another whole element that the kids are learning about, yes?
Right, so yesterday I was at Nathaniel Morton. It was our first kickoff of our YMCA partnership for the After School Garden Club. And we did an exercise about a pineapple that it came from Hawaii and finally got to Shaw's in Plymouth, and then someone bought it. That was 5,000 miles it took to get the pineapple from Hawaii here. And then we did the farmers market analysis. So if they grew corn in Plimpton and sold it at the Plymouth Farmers Market, that was 15 miles, and you got to meet the farmer. So we talk a little bit about the impact on the environment when you're flying a pineapple from Hawaii all the way here, driving across the country, and then buying it. So that makes kids think a little bit more deeply about what they do from morning to night, and that's super important.
Right, and that's the whole point. Melissa, what other initiatives have you been involved with in the past or you're thinking of for the future, aside from this wonderful program about healthy growing and eating?
So aside from the garden program, certainly April Vacation, that was one of our signature events that we held every year, free for middle school kids who live in Plymouth. And, you know, we would love to see that kick off again this coming April. A full week of just multi programming, everything under the sun, from arts to the garden to exercise, drums alive, hip hop dancing, you know, it's just wonderful. So we'd like to bring that back. One thing I'd like to mention though is a really important outreach offshoot of the garden program. And that's our relationship with Algonquin Heights and creating a mobile farmers market. And so, you know, thanks to Jackie's involvement at Algonquin Heights and connections that we made in the community, we were able to create and still have this amazing inclusive summer program where we partnered with the Department of Developmental Services, with New England Villages, with Colchester Farm, and with Algonquin Heights, employing teens from Algonquin Heights to work at Colchester Farm pre-pandemic, and also at the garden that Jackie manages at Algonquin Heights, and providing fresh organic produce for free to households at Algonquin Heights through a farmer's market.
Wow.
And
it's incredible how many different organizations you can thread together to do this.
And it was so wonderful, such a learning experience for the youth, because they were working side by side with adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities, whose employment program is working at Colchester Farm. And we were able to do some group programs. So we had a florist come in and show them floral design. You know, we had somebody come in and talk about goals and future planning, and everybody was included. We had a big pizza party at the end of the summer. And so the impact was, you know, to the residents of Algonquin Heights who had access now to, you know, delicious produce,
Right.
You know, to the families that got to come to the farm for a special farmer's day, you know, farm day, and just learning about differences in people, you know, differences, but more about commonalities, right?
Right.
And so far, all of the youth that have been involved in that program each summer have found jobs in the community.
Wow.
So it helped those resumes.
Wow. And sometimes when you're working on a common goal, working side by side with all kinds of different people, the goal is what becomes important, and the people are just your coworkers. They just, you know, it's wonderful what you're doing. Now, are there other towns that have this kind of a program, or how do you facilitate this so that other towns can do this?
I mean, I think it's a wonderful model.
Yeah.
And, you know, and if I'm being honest, when we were applying for our 501c3 status, we had a little bit of issue because there are other communities that have healthy in front of their town name. And so maybe doing something similar, but whether that's focused on youth, which ours is, I'm not quite sure.
Sure. Okay, and how can people get involved that want to support you or volunteer? How can they do that?
They can contact us certainly at healthyplymouth@gmail.com, which would be great. They can visit our website, but certainly watch our social media, both Tara Cure's social media and Healthy Plymouth, because we will be loading up our Sign Up Genius to get involved and sign up for garden care.
That's great. And do you have any overall summer programs that you run?
So the summer programs will include that farmers market that I just spoke about.
Yep.
And then, really looking at maybe doing some programming, because the gardens are not just gardens, they're outdoor classrooms.
Sure,
And,
exactly.
Jackie can speak to some of the awesome things that she's done, in the gardens in terms of beekeeping and other activities.
Sure.
Yeah. Jackie, can you just give us, in our last minute or so, a couple of things that
Sure.
go on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can do summer in the garden. Lots of times we do one outreach event on a Wednesday at one of the gardens and send a home and, on social media what's going to happen. So we can have an herbalist come. I'm a beekeeper. I could certainly do a beekeeping presentation. So we really want the gardens to be meeting places, community engagement spots. So as the summer progresses, we'll put out some dates and times for folks to come to the garden and all participate there.
Great, because the gardens are there all the time. They don't go anywhere, right? They don't end when the school year ends, right? That's wonderful.
We also do something called the Tomato Sauce Initiative too. So we collect tomatoes and basil and oregano from all the school gardens, and Patrick Van Cott, the food service director at the Plymouth Public Schools, makes the tomato sauce, and we serve it in the fall at the schools. So that's a real touching kind of grasping, I can smell it, eat it, touch it type of thing. And the kids love that, to know the tomatoes came from their school gardens.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Good for you. Ladies, thank you so much. What wonderful work you're doing.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. To find out more, visit the Healthy Plymouth Facebook page. If you've enjoyed this video by The Local Scene, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching.